Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash had its first playable demo on New York Comic Con. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to record video or take pictures of the game, but I took as much notes as I could to give you all my impressions on Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash. Without further ado, let's begin. The demo only had free play and the player versus the CPU versus two other CPUs on the opposite team. I was told by a rep that there would be an option for 1v1 battles, but it wasn't in the current build that I was playing. The demo had a really ugly selection screen, and the best way to describe it was that it looked like an Excel spreadsheet with a background splash. So here's what it roughly looked like. You had Team A and Team B labels. You clicked on a column to edit it, and once you do, you can go to the character and move left or right to change the character you want to play or fight against. You couldn't change the costumes in the demo, but Gojo's was labeled normal clothes, and Yuji and the rest of the characters had Jujutsu High uniforms. I couldn't select the style option, but I had to assume that it was either to change the style of your control or some way to get new beginners to play the game, such as like a auto combo or easy mode feature. But again, I'm just guessing, I have no idea since the demo wouldn't let you select it. The controls options allowed you to select if the character should be controlled by a human or a CPU. Finally, the CPU strength is self-explanatory, which lets you make them weak, normal, or strong. Last but not least, for this menu, you have the general settings option, which allows you to change the stage, time, energy level, team gauge, and display damage. In this demo, I couldn't change any of that. The time defaulted to 5 minutes, and there was only one stage to choose from. The demo I played had 4 playable characters: Gojo, Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji. Unfortunately, I don't fully remember the fine details for each character, but to give you a rough description, Gojo is a powerful character when his curse techniques land, and he's not interrupted by incoming attacks. I suspect your average Gojo player won't be much of a threat, but when put into practice and with a good teammate, he can become very powerful. Megumi is an interesting character because he can use summons like puppets, which take up meter, and you could do normal attacks, and his summons can attack at the same time using the right bumper and right trigger, similar to like a Kankuro if you're coming from the Naruto games. Nobara is a mid to long range character and can tag her opponents with her nails that can be stacked and detonated at any distance on the map. What I'm unsure of though is if your opponent can somehow remove these tagged nails, or if she's defeated if they just come off you and Nobara has to do that over again. I didn't have time to test that. And finally, Yuji. Yuji's a close range fighter. Very simple. Once you're in close distance, you can get a good amount of damage and combos going. He has a lot of good moves. He's very fast. That's about what I got from Yuji. Left stick is to move, right stick is to change and lock on targets. R1 and R2 is your curse energy technique. Square is your combo extraction technique. Triangle is your combo extraction technique number 2. And circle is extraction technique number 3. Down square is joint technique, more on that later. X is to jump, and if you tap it again, you double jump. L1 is to dash. If you press L1 and X, you'll do a really high dash jump, which helps you jump over buildings and gain from one point of the map to the other very easily. L2 is to guard, and L2 and R2 is how you'll do your awakening attack, which is basically your ultimate move. And then lastly, the D-pad is for team commands, more on that later. Once the game starts, you have 5 minutes to defeat the opposing team 4 times. Think of it as not a shared health bar since every player has their own, but you share lives with your team and you only have 4 of them. The alternative way to win is to have more team lives than your opponent. So during the match, players will mostly be using square, triangle, and circle to build up meter, using extraction techniques to ultimately use their R1 and R2 curse energy techniques to do damage. So using both L2 and R2, when you have enough meter, you can do an awakening attack, which will do a good amount of damage. I was only able to do this move once per match, but if you miss your ultimate, all you have to do is wait roughly 8 to 10 seconds to try again. Speaking of ultimates, the domain expansions are awakening attacks. So Gojo's Infinite Void begins to spread over a huge chunk of the map, and as it's expanding, Gojo is basically left open defenseless. If he's hit, he'll have to try again after his meter replenishes. Once the domain expansion is complete, it'll leave his opponents and his teammate in a stunned state, which Gojo can use to punish his opponents on his own, unfortunately. So when this technique happens, your teammate is stunned, you can't do anything, so you're basically on your own. So during this time, you'll want to use a really strong attack, a good combo to make the use of this technique. So Curse Clash has a similar launch attack that was present in J-Star's Victory Versus, where you can press down and square and it will launch the opponent up with a slow-mo effect. Your teammate will have about a 5-second window to attack the opponent while they're in that state, and it will activate an attack cutscene. With enough meter, you can do a Team Awakening move this way. So here are my closing comments. I'll say what I said a few days ago on Twitter. If you aren't following me there, make sure you are to get the latest translations on Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash and any other games that I cover. So, as I was saying, I posted this the other day basically saying that if you plan on playing this thinking that it's a Storm game, don't bother. Not only are there nearly zero similarities to Naruto Storm, Curse Clash is more closer to J-Stars than anything else. While on the subject of arena fighters, games like One Punch Man, J-Stars, Gundam Versus, and the like are not Storm clones. As a community, we really need to stop comparing every single anime game with an open space as another Storm clone, and start critiquing these games based on how good or bad they play. If we can tell the difference between Street Fighter and Dragon Ball FighterZ, then we can tell the difference between Storm and other anime arena games. I'm sure a lot of us wish many anime arena fighters play like Storm, but Storm is a product that took over a decade to get to the point where it is now. So let's try to judge the game on a light that isn't based on our biases of what some of you guys wish this game was. So, with that said, this is ShonenGameZ. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.